In this video, I'm gonna show you 3 different ways to achieve the same exact crazy effect that you're seeing right now. Without any further ado, let's get into it. What's up guys, I'm Anthony Gallo from ContentCreator.com, and recently our team was working on producing a new series of video ads. Our goal with these ads was to really stand out visually by doing things you don't typically see in online ads. This included trashing an old MacBook Pro, compositing time lapses with regular speed footage, time traveling Josh into the future, along with dipping into a Hollywood classic as far as iconic shots go, the Dolly zoom. Now, it's also called the Vertigo zoom or Vertigo effect, but I typically refer to it as the Dolly zoom because I always think back to the olden days when they would have these massive cameras mounted on big dollies and really entire teams of people doing all these different things just to accomplish this one look. Whereas nowadays, the shot is actually super easy to replicate, and I'm actually gonna cover several different ways depending on what gear you have. So rest assured, even if you only have a cell phone, still gonna be able to do this. Now, I also love this shot because as soon as you learn about it, you're gonna start seeing it everywhere. From iconic Hollywood films, TV shows, music videos, even commercials, and plenty more. This shot is constantly used to showcase a state of disarray, maybe a huge realization being made, or simply focusing the viewer in on the subject by compressing the scene as a whole, decreasing the number of distracting elements. Now, in the case of the ad that we were shooting, our goal was to emphasize the confusion that our subject, Josh, was experiencing when it comes to understanding complicated camera settings. Are you tired of taking boring videos? Tired of struggling to learn editing? Feeling perplexed by camera settings? Drowning in the sea of confusing YouTube videos? That movement, combined with the disturbing face Josh made, and I think that we got the point across. But enough background, let's dive into exactly how you can recreate this shot in under 5 minutes. The basic premise is that you need 2 opposite movements. One of these movements is literally moving your camera, typically towards your subject. The second of these movements isn't really a movement, it's actually the process of zooming the camera in or out. But we call it a movement, it kind of fakes the same effect. Now, since we need these 2 elements to be opposite of each other, if the first step is moving our camera towards our subject, then the second step would be to zoom out and away from the subject. Now, that might sound confusing and like we're in a physics lecture talking about equal and opposite movements, but let me show you how dang simple this is. I'm gonna take my Canon EOS R with a 17 to 40 millimeter zoom lens on it. I'm gonna take this seltzer can, and I'm gonna put it at the edge of my desk, and now we're gonna walk through a really easy practice exercise that you can do to wrap your brain around how this effect works. So I've got the EOS R on the desk here, and I'm actually gonna use that to stabilize the push-in movement as I go through it. Now, as I push the camera in, I'm gonna take the lens and I'm gonna zoom it out from 40 millimeters, which is where it's currently at, to 17. Now, right off the bat, I'm just gonna push it in and show you. This is what it looks like, a regular push-in shot. Nothing too fancy. And this is what it looks like when you just zoom out. So now you know exactly what they look like by themselves. The magic happens when you do the movements together. What's cool now is you can actually do the exact opposite and pull your camera back while you zoom in, and now you get a completely different look to your dolly zoom. Rather than the space expanding around your subject as we physically move towards it, we get the opposite, where it feels like the surroundings are closing in on the subject as we physically move away from it. You can probably already start imagining all the different creative ways that you can use this effect in the videos that you're gonna shoot. Now, this is a great exercise to practice the movement and wrap your head around how this effect actually works. But what if you don't have a lens where you can actually zoom in and out, and instead you only have a prime lens? Or what if you're like me and you suck at keeping things smooth while you push in and zoom out? Well, I actually have good news for you. You can fake the zoom out or zoom in movement by digitally keyframing the scale parameter in your editing software. Check this out. All I need to do is focus in on the push movement and get that smooth. From there, we can take the footage into Premiere Pro, DaVinci, or practically any program, and then keyframe the zoom out movement. All you have to do is create a keyframe at the beginning of the clip where we increase the scale. And then we create another keyframe at the end of the clip, bringing the scale back to the original 100. By doing this, we mimic the movement of zooming out and we get the dolly zoom effect. Now, just remember, if you did a pull out shot rather than a push in, we'd want to keyframe the opposite movement. So rather than zooming out as the clip progresses, we would create a keyframe at the beginning of the clip, leave it exactly where it is, create another keyframe at the end, and then this time we would increase the scale, mimicking the process of zooming in. Pretty awesome. And now all you have to do is focus on keeping the camera steady as you move towards or away from your subject, and then mimic the zoom in post. Keep in mind, you can also stabilize the footage even more by using an effect like warp stabilizer, which will help smooth out those bumps even more. Just be careful though, I'd suggest you bring the amount down to 5% or lower, as sometimes the stabilization can go overboard and make your footage look really unnatural. Now the next method, which I actually find myself doing most of the time simply because it adds another level of stabilization, would be to mount your camera onto a gimbal and then do your movement. This is exactly what I did for the shot in the ad that we were talking about. I probably ran through the movement with Josh 20 or so times to give myself options in the editing room. From there, same as before, take the footage and keyframe that zoom in or zoom out movement. In this example, since I was moving towards Josh with this shot, I wanted to keyframe a zoom out. So we start with the scale parameter moved up, and then we keyframe at the end, bringing it back to 100. Now, after keyframing the scale, if you find your subject falling away from the center of your image, you can actually keyframe the position parameter as well. For example, here in this shot, you can see that Josh wasn't completely centered. So I placed a keyframe at the beginning and end, manipulating the position to keep Josh more towards the center of the image. Finally, if you want an even greater degree of control, you can do what I did at the beginning of this YouTube video, where I used a motorized slider, automated a movement from the end of the track to the front of the track, and then again keyframe the zoom movement. Believe it or not, you can actually do the same exact thing with drone footage. You simply want to fly your drone straight forwards or straight backwards, and then keyframe the opposite zoom movement, and voila, you have added a ton of spice to your drone footage. And there you go, that does it for this quick video outlining a few different strategies you can use to replicate the famous dolly zoom or vertigo effect in your own videos. Now, if you clicked on this tutorial because you're trying to learn how to shoot better videos that stand out from the rest of the noise on the internet, while also not having to invest tons of money on expensive gear, I think you would be a great candidate to join our online film school, which happens to be the largest on the planet with over 25,000 amazing filmmakers in our community. Now, before you click away from this video because we're promoting something, I also want to point out that this is not just the largest, but also the most affordable online film school on planet Earth. We don't think people should pay thousands of dollars to take online film courses to learn the fundamentals of creating beautiful cinematic images. So for the insanely low price of just $48, you get lifetime access to our entire catalog of tutorials inside 14-Day Filmmaker, on top of access to our amazing community, access to the weekly Q&A calls we hold where you can ask professional filmmakers questions and get real-time feedback. Not to mention, if you currently edit on Adobe Premiere Pro or have been maybe thinking about investing in a subscription, all of our students get 60% off the Adobe suite of applications. So you literally end up saving more money than what it costs to join our film school. You also get downloadable cheat sheets, pricing guides, hundreds of professional sound effects, the list goes on. The real goal of this program is to take years of disorganized learning on YouTube from a variety of different instructors and condense it into just 14 days of streamlined content. And if that amount of time savings isn't worth $48, I don't know what is. Other than that though, we hope you found this tutorial valuable. We'd love it if you like this video and subscribe to our channel. As a thank you, here's a cute picture of a puppy. Other than that, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.